So our approach is really grounded in 3 skills or competencies. So empathy, curiosity, and courage.
Okay.
So when we think of empathy and curiosity, I see them as 2 sides of the same coin. So empathy is much more interpersonal, and curiosity is much more intellectual in terms of how they manifest. But when we think of one, it fuels the other and vice versa. So you and I meet, and I don't have any natural, like, well, this is a white man who's been with Franklin Covey for quite some time, an executive. Say when I first started, when we first met, actually, I was in the interview process for joining Franklin Covey. And so here I am, and you live in Salt Lake City, in Utah, and here I am living in DC, which is different from Salt Lake City in lots of ways, had never been to Utah. And I'm a person of color, I'm a woman, and just feeling that sort of separation. So I don't feel...
Chasm, really, right? I mean, 2 people couldn't have more differences than you and I, perhaps.
And I can write a whole story in my head about what that means about Scott. No. And so when I think of empathy, we didn't have that necessarily an initial interpersonal connection, right? I didn't see myself in you. But if I use these behaviors of curiosity, I mean, going back to our boys, right? Curiosity is so big in children. They ask a lot of questions. They ask critical questions, questions you wouldn't think of, and they actually listen to your response. I think as adults, we might even learn, well, I'll ask the questions, right? But then we don't really listen for the response because we think we already know it. So really listening empathically and then building follow-on questions based on those responses. And if you do that as a behavior, you build empathy, right? Because we find things that we can connect on.
Reminds me of a phrase I read recently in preparation for one of these interviews where someone said, and I'm sorry I can't credit it, I think it was a gentleman that said, I don't like that person, I need to get to know them better.
I have read this.
And I love that because I've thought a lot about that to say that makes a lot, and I started to think about people that I don't necessarily like, and I thought, you know what, have I given the benefit of the doubt beyond just that one instance where they turned me off? Because I imagine I've turned some people off, and I've kind of thought, gosh, if they got to know me better, they might like me more.
I think when I read it, it was credited to Abraham Lincoln. And he said, I do not like him, I must get to know him more.
Abraham Lincoln, right?
The internet, right? There is that.
That's Al
Gore. Anyway, yeah, so I think that is, again, so counterintuitive, right? We make quick decisions. We sort people. That's what our brain does. It puts people in categories. Yes, no, I like them, I don't. And then we move on. And that is exacerbated with the pace at which we're all operating today. But